So I want to tell everybody we are recording the Get Canceled podcast. We try to come at you guys once a week at least. And this is our day this week. We want to tell you to get us on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. YouTube as well. All you got to do is search Get Canceled podcast. Thank you for all the reviews we've been getting. Our minds are blown by the amount of interaction, engagement we've had with our podcast. We thought a couple of people would listen and a bunch more did. So
a month before we go to Vegas. That'd be cool.
So we had like I was saying earlier, we kind of started this podcast thinking maybe a couple of people will listen to this thing. And we found out we were number 14.
Tiffany, here's your claptrap.
We thought, oh my gosh, people are listening to this silly thing. And we need to get some gear. So I had some hoodies made, and Kellen and Thad didn't grab theirs out of my office. So here we
Didn't know
are.
where they were. Didn't know they were at your office.
It'd be fine.
I hope they're not all that size. I mean, I can go on.
Everything's going to be fine. We're here in shiny, lit up, bright Las Vegas, Nevada. We're live right now. Everyone listening at home, I think it is, what, 4 o'clock-ish there? 3:50-ish?
Almost 5.
It's almost
5 o'clock there? Okay. We are at 2:51 Western, Thad? Western time?
Standard, yeah.
And we're here to catch the fights tonight, of course, but we had an incredible opportunity to hang out with Frank again. Some people know every once in a while Frank will come to Tulsa and help promote Dale's fights there, the XFN, Dale Apollo Cook's fights. Frank's been a big part of getting some names out there, bringing credibility to the product and the brand. And really something that I've noticed that you do, Frank, is, and I don't notice everyone do this when they come to engage with the program and the promotion, because you get paid a little bit to do that. It's kind of good for you too. But you talk to the fighters. I watch you at the after parties and things, and you engage with the fighters.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, that's one thing. It's funny, people have always asked me in the past, you know, that aren't familiar with combat sports or fighting, or, hey, so do you not like the guy you're fighting? I'm like, first of all, we're just all martial artists. It's this is a game version of what we're doing to help sharpen and hone our skills as safely as possible. But like any other sport, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, there's aggression and the will to win, but you don't hate the guy across from you. As weird as that sounds to people, they think, oh, you're punching the guy. Well, think about it. If they cut the lights to the arena right before the fight started, hey guys, sorry, power's out, but we're gonna go next door, open bar, beers are on us, right? Who do you think I'm sitting with, probably hanging out with? Probably the guy I was fighting. I have most in common with him because we're the same, same ambitions, same goals, same lifestyle. And so when I'm there and the young guys are, and girls are coming up in our sport, if I could ever give any information to help them, which is so much better than what I had, I tell people that when I was training at the very beginning, there wasn't enough people, the sport wasn't mature enough that we had guys that had fought an MMA career and retired. And now they're showing how the things work. Basically, I was like a quarterback in the NFL, and my throwing coach played baseball, but he didn't play football. My running coach was a rugby guy. It's like, well, you have all these different facets of the sport, specialists. Who do you have that knows how to put it all together? I'm like, I'll learn as we go. Yeah. So if I can help out the group of guys and girls that are following us to help give them tips, clues, save them some time to learn a lesson that I learned the hard way. That's not going to work out for you. That's just going to be nothing but pain. Go this direction. I'm more than willing to do so because it elevates the sport. It elevates the whole martial arts arena, which is one of my ambitions.
I think your analogy about the lights and everything is great, and I think it's 99% foolproof. My only question is, having a beer with Brock or not having a beer with Brock if the lights go out on that night?
Actually, I would, just because there's some times I have to, me.
I promise I wouldn't do it, but here we are.
I got to ask questions, I'd be like, hey, you know what? I mean, you're a pretty successful guy. You're a big, strong guy. You've done well in sports. One of the best collegiate wrestlers in the heavyweight division. You had a decent career in MMA. I don't think people look at you and ever feel like, oh, there's a target. Let me bully this guy around.
Right.
Why are you so insecure? Like you're kind of a dick, I've hung out with people, obviously the production crew, they work with him and I. So, if you're an asshole, it comes around like, hey, what's going on? I remember a situation occurred where a guy was really just being bugged out and nervous around me. And they're videotaping, I'm looking at it, and at a point where it caught my attention, I'm like, yeah, you all right? You seem really the guy who put his booms together and then walked away. I was like, is there something going on that I'm not aware of, you know? I guess earlier on, they had shot Brock at his place, and for whatever reason, the guy looking more liberal or whatnot, I don't know what he queued out for the guy, but he bullied him, you know, basically, like, you know, told the guy to get out, you know, made him stand out in the cold, he didn't want him around, a couple of derogatory terms, I guess, were thrown. Again, wasn't there, secondhand information, but I've heard enough times where I tell people, there's enough smoke, there's fire, you know what I mean? Like, you hear somebody like, oh yeah, guy's a dick, you know, you hear enough. I'm pretty sure, even though I've never dealt with him personally, that Michael Jordan's a shitty tipper. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, like, I've heard from enough people that, no, I've not heard it myself and dealt with it, but enough smoke, there's definitely some truth to it. So, and, you know, I'd just be like, oh, like, what's wrong with you? Like, are you like, I mean, like, this guy not built the whole thing through? Is it like, you know what I mean? Like, are there some shortcomings that tattoo was making up for? I mean, I don't know. So,
It's a full answer. I'll tell you what I thought was interesting. So we had a cigar, and the fact that you'd sit a couple hours and talk through all your fights with us. But before that, you know, to your point, Bryan, Frank, I watched you with people that were just getting started in the sport, literally almost roll with people and you have to like show them different moves, spend time, 15, 20 minutes with different people. And so that's probably a culture shock and why you're so passionate about what you just talked about.
Yeah, I love martial arts. You know what, I think everybody in life, there's different aspects to it as far as, you know, keys to life. You know, you write obviously novels and books, people are searching out the truth of it. One component of living a good life is to have an identity. Who are you? What are you? It gives you a reason for why you brush your teeth that day a certain way. Maybe you go out for your run, or how you eat, how you deal with things, like what books you read. Identity. In fact, a lot of parents, I tell them, what can you do? How can you help them? Hey, make sure, I manipulated my children, that at a young age, I admired and only spoke highly of certain individuals so that my kids wanted to mimic them and become that, embrace that as their identity. And so I think being a martial artist is a phenomenal lifestyle because you're constantly improving your mind, your body, your spirit, and we're tribal, so the stronger I can be, the stronger the community is, and we move forward. So I think it's a great way of building yourself up. I tell everybody, you know, it's my furnace that I build my blade in, you know, my sword, my soul. You know, martial arts world is the furnace in which I pressure myself, I put myself through agony and pain because of what comes through that.
Also, I want to mention today, we appreciate our friend and brother Ron for helping us kind of set up with Frank here today, coming out of town, and
the fact that we can see Bryan's pretty face,
get
Ron's lights on our
get it going
quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, and I just want to also say today, officially, at least for me, we'll be retiring Ron's name like a jersey, almost like when they pull the jersey up and hang it from the rafters, because Ron has a new name.
The Dean.
We're going to call him the Dean. Been around Ron for a long time, and Ron's this funny mix. I told him yesterday, he's a mix between like really professional, like professor style dude, and then like command. And if you guys don't know what command means, it's like this secret guy that no one ever knows their name, but he's the one telling all the other guys to shoot that person, steal that person, trap that person. That's command. So he's like a mixture of those, so I thought the Dean was appropriate. So I'll be calling Ron the Dean. He is now in my phone as the Dean. In fact, when he called earlier, I didn't answer right away because I had changed his name to the Dean, and I thought, who the crap was that? And I was like, it's freaking on. I just changed the contact on my phone. So I also want to say today, because we're getting started, I know people have joined already. Frank, I think they were excited to hear. Whether you know it or not, we talk about you a lot at home. Frank is officially, and I told you back in the day, we smoked some cigars, my favorite heavyweight fighter ever. But it's not because of some of the basics. I've told you guys why Frank's my favorite heavyweight fighter. In the sport of fighting, which I never did officially, it was always more of just for fun for me because I'm too small. But Frank did something at his size that no one else in the game did. And to this day, unless you correct me, no one really does it like you. Frank put on clinics around Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the ability to take down or not be taken down. And a lot of times I've been asked this before, well, why would Frank end up in a fist fight? Well, here's why. Because they were afraid to go to the ground, so it's actually a tool. Even not using the tool became a tool. Because their hands are going to be low, right, Frank? Because Frank's going to take you down.
He'll give you control in a certain way because then you have to respect it. And so that influenced the fight, absolutely. He was part of the strategy.
Well, and if it's me, I would much rather Frank knock me out than take me down and choke me. There's just something in the way of like man things. Like if I go out on my shield with a punch, that's different than Frank laying on top of me, like choking me.
No,
So
100%, absolutely. There's much more of a dominating victory. You know, some people can just, you know, throw a spinning back fist, look the wrong direction, and you know, instead of zipped and dodged and zapped, and you get caught with a shot. So a submission isn't really an accidental movement. You know, you sit there and go like, no, not only did I control the distance, I controlled you. I was able to get you off of your base, pass through your weapons, destroy them maybe on the way there, but then I got ultimately to your neck and controlled you enough that I was able to hold the movement for you that at least 3 to 5 seconds before you lose consciousness. This is definitely, to me, is a much more dominating victory. You know, it's like, oh wow, you know, guys can do this and have caught people and they fall down. You know, no one goes and goes, oh wow, did you see that scramble? I ended up in a rear naked choke. It's like,
well, in the fight game, you guys are, you know, the other industries, there's results and they're measuring things. Well, in a fight like what you're doing, part of the measurements are what you just said. Was I able to get him down? Was I able to intimidate this move? Those are your all statistics and measurement. They're literally logging those and clocking the success of your fight based upon your ability to do those things.
and then the one aspect about it that I used to dread, but I now understand that it actually is very good teachings because it's so relatable to life itself. We're one of the few sports or few endeavors that you could be dominating the full distance of the match, you know, in 15-minute fight, you know, 3 or 5 minute rounds. You could be winning every second of that fight. And at minute 4 and 59 seconds of the third round, one wrong movement, and now you lose the fight. I can't think of any other sport where, hey, we're playing a football game and I've scored 17 touchdowns on you, but if you score this special touchdown over here, it erases everything.
Yeah.
It's done. It's like, well, I'm the better fighter right now. Maybe a little time. Like, yeah, for this one window open here, which again, that's life. Here, you should do everything we can to push the needle in our. I always tell to my children, push the needle, meaning that the percentages of what you're going to do. So hey, there's no guarantees, but the needle, I can push it down and go, hey, but there's an 89% chance of success. Let's do it that way. Is it guaranteed? Well, no, there's no guarantee.
I guess Chael knows all about that last minute victory.
Yeah, there's a great example.
Oh, I was so excited for that. He dominated.
Oh, he destroyed him.
Yeah.
4.5 rounds, right?
Yeah, he had owned him. I mean, from the opening round, I remember because, actually, it's funny that you say that, because Anderson respected the takedown so much, Chael even fainted for it. His defense for it completely put him out of position for the offensive
Hands are
strikes.
down.
And Chael is not known as a heavy striker by any stretch of the imagination, but because of the respect for the rest, and he used it. He caught Anderson right off the bat. It rocked Anderson, almost knocked him out in the first round. And from then on, it was a takedown clinic, and he got destroyed. And one mistake, his wrist got low, and Anderson threw the triangle up and finished the fight. It was over with, and switched it around, which can be both positive to where it's like, hey, it's taught me that mentality to a great extent, to where as long as I'm breathing, there's still a chance. In any situation I'm in, where it's like, well, I'm still here, so I can still turn. It can still happen. It's still going to possibly work out. Where a lot of people, I think, lose faith. They throw in the towel too early and like, oh, I'm screwed. Like, no, not necessarily. Come on, man. I mean, is it really over with? Is it done? Keep fighting. Where, and then on the flip side, you could have everything coast into a victory. You put your guard down for 1 second, and all of a sudden it was ripped right from underneath.
So I was with my family. I want to go back to one thing he said, because there's some people who watch the podcast that don't watch the UFC.
Okay.
They don't understand fighting. So my sister, for instance, had a couple people over, and I bring up what we're going to do, where I'm going to go, and why I'm so excited. And she understands why I like the UFC. She's like, I just don't know why guys are bred to hate each other. I was like, they don't hate each other. And she's like, that doesn't make any sense. How do they hurt each other without hating each other? So I was going to let you answer that a little better than I could.
Well, yeah, same thing. I mean, obviously, look, sports are really for mimicking warfare. If you think about it, the caveman first grabbed a stick and rock, and he sits there and tells his buddy, you're mimicking aspects of warfare without hurting each other to an extent, right? We're trying to, as close as we can, get to that competitive nature of working with other guys. It's a team sport. The individual sports allow you to really work upon yourself. There's no one to go out to. You're gonna, you have to depend upon yourself and beat another human in front of you. So you learn how to overcome adversity. that's really what the person is that they're my adversity I have to overcome. I've punched my friends and loved ones way more than I've ever punched an enemy because they're who I train with. It's like lions. When they train, they're training with each other. Big lion dad and kids, and they're biting each other. It's playing. So when we're doing this sport of martial arts like MMA, there can be some animosity there. I'm not saying it doesn't. We rub shoulders sometimes the wrong way. You get a bunch of a certain type of men and personality types. But for the most part, it doesn't require that because it's not. It's a test of myself. I'm just using you. Basically, I'm an artist, and I need a canvas to draw my painting upon, which is your body, and to find out where I'm strong at, where I'm weak at, and there isn't that hatred. You don't need it. So I tell people, they sit there and go, "Hey, did you ever play football?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, if you think about it, if I walk right now, we go down the lobby, and I run up and I hit somebody with a football tackle, drag them to the dirt, they'll be like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's completely normal on any Sunday when they're playing football. They hate each other. They don't have to hate each other. You don't see some, the days of the guys sitting back, I'm not kidding. That was going to happen. It's like, hey, they're getting up. So anyways, is your mom next weekend? Are we meeting up? Everybody intermingles. They either play college ball together, maybe. But there's mutual friendships. So again, to go out there and execute the technique, we're practicing war. We're helping each other out. In fact, actually animosity that gets in the way. It clouds the mind. You want it to be as clear and focused as possible. So there doesn't, that requirement, I have to hate somebody to hit them. No, not at all. In fact, it actually is detrimental.
How are you doing? Had some surgeries the last couple of years. Do you feel like you're recovering where you want to be? Are you on schedule? Or
just now in the last 2 weeks, yes. I wish I would have done the surgeries earlier. Actually, Ron was with me when my wife finally had the final straw because last November, I was sparring in the gym and I trained with my students. I work with them, we wrestle, we grapple, we work different aspects where they're striking and whatnot. And it was a good day and I had my hand on the heavy bag and I was actually home because it was a private gym of my student that I was working with at the time. And all of a sudden, I sat down. Literally, I felt like some marionette. I just buckled down almost and I got caught. And then now my friend, McGregor, one of the coaches, he's like, "Yo, are you all right?" And I'm like, that was weird, right? Like, what the hell was that? The next couple of days, it happened again. I'm like walking to work, and my legs landed on the wall. So that probably went until about January. I remember one time as I was walking, and I do some executive protection work for Chris Angel, and I'm in the back of the house and trying to get to my post to meet him up. And my wife's like, "Where are you at?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm down here." She goes, "Did you park like 15 minutes ago?" I'm like, "It's like a 10-minute walk." I'm like, "Babe." And I kind of got angry. I'm like, "I'm just trying to get through this. I feel like I weigh 1,000 pounds. I don't know what's wrong." She goes, "Look over your knees. You need to have an MRI." So I thought just all my injuries. I thought my body, because I've had that happen before. Something hurts, your body wants to shut down. It's like, okay, well, that shoulder's in pain, so we're going to shut you down neurologically so that you don't use it, protects it. And so I thought maybe that's what was going on with my legs. And actually, I was at an XFN show. When Ron picked me up, I did have a cane, and I was struggling to walk around. By the time I left in a wheelchair because it was just drastically going down, and I was actually scared. And when I got home, my wife's like, "All right, you got to go to the doctor to find out what's going on." All right, I had actually called a friend of mine, Zach, and say, "Hey, I can't really get to the car. Can you help me?" And he's like, "What?" And so I have an arm over shoulder, dragging my feet, and I get to the hospital. So I go see the orthopedic guy, and it's an outpatient, it's not the emergency room. And so he's doing these different tests on me, he's asking me some questions, and then when it became dangerous was, he goes, "You feel this?" And I'm like, "Well, do you feel that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I feel you pushing on my leg." He's like, "Could you tell the difference between the two?" I'm like, "What? No, you're just pushing my leg." Well, it was basically like a spur that you hit like a horse with type thing, and a spoon. And I couldn't tell you the difference between the two. I knew that I was being pushed on, but I couldn't feel it. And embarrassingly so, actually, coming home from that airport that weekend before that, that's why I told her, I said, "Hey, Doc, I urinated." I didn't know. I'm at the airport, my wife said, "Frank, what's going on?" I'm like, "I've lost my bladder control." And so they took me immediately to the emergency room at Mountain View, and at the MRI, an hour later, to come in, like, "Okay, you have 90% above of compression in the spine because of stenosis. How'd you let it go this far?" I'm like, I didn't know. So my ability to push through pain and to push through injury. In some situations it helps, in this situation it harmed me because I went way further than most humans would be able to go through that injury and still deal with it and walk around. So a 9-hour surgery later, I got fused from T8 to T12, and one of the things that the surgeon told me that actually kind of said, I'll remember that. That'll go in the book. My wife was sitting there. She goes, "Well, when is he gonna, be able to move around?" He's all, man, like this surgery was to stop the progression of him being disabled. There's a 10% chance he might actually gain some mobility back, but like, no, I was in a wheelchair. Like that was it. My legs, I was like, holy shit. I'm sitting there, and he goes, "The best way to describe it to you, man, is if I were to cut a hose." And we pull it off, and also water is still coming out the other end.
Right.
And you're gonna ask me, hey, when's the water gonna stop starting? Like, I don't even know how water's going through it at all. Like, that doesn't make sense. If you've seen what I've seen, that guy shouldn't be able to even sit up. He's done. And so I didn't accept that as an answer, and I worked through it and pushed, and now obviously I'm walking. But because of my inactivity for so many months, other injuries that I had because I was able to gain mobility and work through them, I was able to stay them away. Well, all of a sudden, I'm sitting in a chair for 3 months, didn't bode those injuries well. So I ended up having to have my hip replaced and my knee replaced because of the amount of damage that was there. And then once I lost muscle tone, all the adverse, the negative aspects of it really, poked their head out. And then that Dr. Crevetti, I love Dr. Crevetti, he came in the room, he goes, "Well, I got good news for you. It can't get worse." He goes, "In 24 years, this is the worst I've ever seen any human. It's hit." And then he walked over, he goes, "In your knee." You're like, "I can't believe you could actually move." He goes, the fact that you're moving your leg, that's amazing. I have no idea how you're doing that." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "I'm tired of hearing this. Like, it's cool the first couple times, and now I'm like, all right, I'm tired of that."
I was scary at that point. You're like, this should be happening.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Frank did walk in here today, so.
Without a cane.
Without a cane, without a wheelchair. Without holding on to nobody. You did
I was
walk in here on
the stroller, the walker.
Yeah.
You talked about identity, and I think that's important. We've talked about base camp. When things get reset, there's a new season, but things are incredibly hard. It depends on how you look at them. We just got to know that. We've also talked in the past, when we talked through life about people in our life. Can you go back to what you're still with your kids, but for yourself, like going through this? What does identity mean to you getting through this?
Oh, it was difficult because it took my identity away from me. In a way, I had to sit there and realize, okay, I might not be the baddest guy in the room now. It was weird for me to have to look around and go, I became a little nuttier about carrying weapons with me and stuff. My wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, I can't fight like I used to. Like, I'm actually, I'm right now, I can barely stand up. I'm on a walker. If somebody wanted to take advantage of me, I have to protect you still. Like, I'm still the husband, I'm still the father. I still have to be the pillar, the protector of the family. And I don't feel very secure about myself to be able to do so. And then actually, a friend of mine pointed out, he goes, "Actually, this is bad," because I started gaining back some of my abilities, and as I was going, he's all, "This is actually the scariest time for anybody to confront you now." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Well, before, you would have, there's such a difference, a spread that you could play with people. Like, I've seen you in bars and guys get crazy and you screw around with them and subdue them." He goes, "But," I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I can't play around now. I'm going on DEFCON 5. And then you look at me funny, He goes, "Exactly." He goes, "Now actually you're more deadly, and there's a problem that we're, civil lawsuit type situation here, but because you can't play around, that now you've been normalized." So, and again, it did take my identity away, but then I really had to define what it meant to go through and be a man. There'll be a day again now that I'm no longer, I'm building myself back up again now, but there's still a limit to what you're going to be. I'm not going to be what I was at 25, when I'm 55, Things are just going to have to change and evolve, but it doesn't mean I have to come to an end. You're not just sitting there, okay, I don't have that anymore. It's like, well, no, it changed. Like my mobility in one direction increased, another area decreased, but my grip strength actually stronger now than I was when I was in my 20s. So then I changed certain things and movements and aspects of my life, and what defines as a man stays the same as far as I provide, I protect, but as far as sometimes how I achieve that goal has to change a little bit. I have to work with it's not the army I want, it's the army I have that I have to work with, right? And so perseverance of being able to push through that really became, again, I'm like, at a certain point, I don't know who's out there, But somebody's out there, and I'm like, I'm tired of proving I'm a comeback guy. Jesus, guys, like, you throw me a bone, I've done this route too many times, you know, like, again, and my wife and I were talking about this, she's all, every time I think you came back, there's something broken leg and all this, she goes, you're throwing a new ball, or, let's see if you can come back from this, let's see how far we can destroy Frank Mir's body and mind and his abilities, and he's still gonna come out kicking and swinging, like, when are you gonna throw the towel in? I'm like, I guess that's what I prove to my kids and show them that, as long as I'm drawing breath, I'm still fighting.
Right.
There's no time.
Well, and later today, we hope that you'll be cool, and I think you will. We definitely want to pray for you. We think that that your body can be healed, and but that spirit you have, it's interesting what can happen when people have a spirit like that. The keep fighting part, obviously, pretty along with the life that you've made. Obviously, you probably compare and equate a lot of things to a fight because you've been doing it
Adversity is a fight,
so
right?
long.
Everything in life's an adversity. We're always dealing with challenges, whether it's ourself, whether it's our neighbor, whether it's the environment, whether it's fate itself. There's an adversity, something that's causing me to have to battle and overcome, which is necessary in life. I think sometimes when people live too soft of a life and they don't identify their adversity, they don't know what they're battling against, they think they're not battling, and then that's when you really get in trouble. You're no longer, there are all kinds of hosts of issues then.
Well, I want to make sure that no one gets too nervous here. I did bring some cigars. I brought cigars. You still like cigars?
I love cigars.
Still like cigars?
I got a little bit into a pipe smoking.
I saw you with the pipe.
Well, you know what it is?
That takes some patience.
It does, and it's actually a little bit of a skill set. I had YouTube it a couple times, but it's fun. I like it. It's just me being honorary, too, to be honest with you. So it's weird. You can sit at a bar and smoke a cigarette, and no one bats an eye. I pull out a cigar, everybody freaks out, like, oh my God, you're a cigar. I'm like, really? Is it that much of a difference? I mean, like,
It's better.
so it bothered me, and they're like, okay, you guys, you don't really give a shit, but there's a rule now that you sit there and go, ha, I affected your life in a certain way. Some people are very, petty, and they have power trip about the littlest thing that they can get over the line is, I made him do this, I took this away from him. And I'm like, okay, no. I'm very dominant in that way, and that I'm actually my wife says I'm the pettiest human being that probably ever walked the face of the earth. So then I sat there and go, wait, can I smoke a pipe? They're like, well, yeah, I have cigarettes, pipe, but you just can't smoke a cigar. I'm like, cool. So I'll sit at the bar, and I have my cigar, I cut it open in front of me, look, opened the cigar, and packed the pipe, and smoked it, like, looked at it, like, now what?
Oh man.
She's like, you guys, and now I actually enjoy it on its own. I grab my own different tobaccos and stuff. But it started out just a way for me to be very petty and take away even the peasant's small idea of victory. No, absolute victory crushed on the king and not.
I want to talk about one of your favorite things, your daughter. So you may not. My son Legend wasn't able to come to the casino when you were there. What was it last year? I mean,
Well, it's a 21-year-old thing.
due to age, he was pretty upset. But he started watching your daughter. He wrestles at school. Legend is an amazing personality, very smart guy, great personality. He's just a little smaller. He's not getting as big as he wants, but he's framing out. He's getting stronger. He's just not getting taller. And about 2 years ago, because he watches what I watch and he's grown up watching the fights, and I said, you know what, Frank Mir's daughter wrestles, and I think it's pretty high level stuff. You ought to start YouTubing her up. So he started watching her. So on my way here a couple of days ago, the text message said, hey, would you ask Frank if I could ever talk to his daughter? I want to meet her sometime. And I said, I'm going to go with,
Let's swap that off.
we'll just have to see, dude. I don't know if Frank's the guy to ask about his daughter.
Beside me with his knives.
Luckily, he's only almost 17, so he's a non-threat in any way. And then watching your daughter, he's a clear non-threat to anything else.
Well,
But let's
he's a
not
respectful guy. That's respecting the way
He at least wanted to ask you permission,
That to
right?
me is an amazing attribute that I wish more of our youth had, is to, you own your character, like, the dice was rolled at birth on how intelligent you're going to be, and maybe the environment, how tall and strong. There's a lot of things that make us that we really didn't govern. That was given, luck of the draw, whatever you want to believe in, but you didn't earn that per se. You could have increased it, decreased it, but your character, how you conduct yourself, how you treat other men and women, that's completely in your control, and I completely judge you off of that. That's one of the things like, oh, you're judging someone where they dress this down. Your character, 100%, you're in control of, and so that's who you are. So the fact that you're so respectful is very good job.
Well, tell us about, give us an update. Where is she? She's in college, right? Or she was wrestling in
She's her
school.
senior year right now. She's now at Central Illinois. She went first 2 years to Iowa, the Hawkeyes, but the program, a different mentality, just like a lot of team sports where it didn't line up the head coach and how we approached the sport a little different. Then we spoke with the coach at Central Illinois between a sophomore and a junior year. We knew who he was, and we entered the portal and started discussions, and I really liked there was a better fit. So her junior year, she became the national runner-up. She lost one match in the finals to the current Olympic champion,
Crazy.
Which I wish I had been there, because all the girl did was Bella became very determined to go a certain direction, a certain angle of attack, and that girl completely opened up other aspects of the game to secure and close this door down. And she's determined. She's in the finals. My daughter's very stubborn. Instead of sitting back, I wish I had been there, but I was in the hospital trying not to be paralyzed when that was happening.
Yeah.
So now it's her senior year. Hopefully she her team just won the NCAA's for the dual aspect of it. They're the national champions, and so here in a couple of weeks, my daughter will go up for her, hopefully now, not be the runner-up, but be actually NCAA champion. And then, her wrestling career, I feel like we're just going to, she'll always wrestle and take up matches, but now we're going to focus on MMA, her martial arts career. That's really the bread and butter of who she is. She's a decathlete of the martial arts world, like I always consider myself now. She's not, the idea was not to be the best at everything individually, which I told her that wasn't going to be possible, and she loves to prove me wrong on a lot of things. So she might end up being the best. She's won worlds now in jiu-jitsu. She's national world champion wrestling. I'm like, wow, okay, so you are going to be the best at every individual aspect of the sport, and be the NCAA and be the UFC champion. So
I wonder where she got her hard head.
yeah.
Well, I'll say that, you were saying earlier you might be the pettiest guy ever. Your daughter probably is
she's my
trying to
friend.
take the belt for that.
It's funny, my wife said that every time something goes on, and I'm like, oh, we'll go over here and do this. You're going to go out of your way. And my wife goes, holy shit, you have passed it on to your daughter. She is, it's you, Captain Petty, so we enjoy giving each other, that revenge of, this guy did this. So, we did, we put the sign right there, so now they got to do. You went out of your way to do that? I'm like, yeah. And the one aspect of me that really makes me pay, that baffles my wife, but the other person didn't know that you're the one that kind of screwed them over on that you got even with them. But I know. In fact, I think it's even funny that they don't know.
A little bit of tact.
Keeping your own score in your own head. Yeah.
Reality is still reality, regardless if you know it or
You're
not.
still your own battle.
You missed, obviously, a little bit of her wrestling and whatnot, but you spent a ton of time with her, I've got to think, since she was at least of somewhat younger age, for her to, I think some people have athletic bones and muscles and twitch and all that, but to do what she's doing in the game of wrestling or MMA, you have to start learning so many different levels. You had to be teaching her for years in some capacity.
All my children, in my household, because martial arts is a phenomenal tool to cultivate your mind, your body, your spirit. All my children are martial artists. Being a professional, that wasn't my first choice. That aspect of our sport or our art is scary, because it's like you're an entertainer. You can do everything right, and the other guy doesn't, and now you don't have a fight. It's scrapped, and you don't get paid. You break your ankle, you get injured. Like any professional sport, entertainment world, there's a lot of risk that's not within your control. It's not the safest route to take. Whereas you go become an engineer, that's probably a little bit safer course, and you're going to be able to be financially set. So especially when Bella first was wanting to look at the fight world, we have Misha Tate, Ronda Rousey, and Dana saying the girls are going to be in the UFC. And so I was like, it's really a dead end, let's not go that direction. We're going to train. It's like, I want you to learn an instrument, right? No one would ever sit there and bat an eye at that, going, oh, you want your kid to learn the piano? Any instrument, right? It's good for you, right? I don't want you to quit high school and now go join a band, you know what I mean? Like, there's levels to this commitment. And so from day one, because of the lifestyle of being a martial artist, my daughter, I would do things, and I do to my boys too, we hang on a pole, I had a crossbar that went over my bed. So I make sure she'd lock up on it. And I made it fun for them to see how strong they can make their grip. You know, I play games with them all the time for awareness of their body and just always pushing in the direction as martial arts. So even when they didn't know what they were doing, I knew what I was doing. Go ahead, like, oh, yeah, step this way, move this way. You know, cartwheel, position of body.
Well, I want to talk about real quick another one of your favorite people in your life. I want to brag on your family just a little bit because they've had to put up with you for so long in the fight game and the surgery.
Yeah.
I've gotten to hang out with your wife a couple times, handful, 2, maybe 3 times, and she's really cool, fun, lets us smoke cigars, even kind of smokes her own cigar a little bit.
Yeah, a little Havana honey on the side.
She likes to do that, and I really enjoy that. But I wonder, how does she feel about you training the kids? You know, did that go over easy, or was that a little bit of a conversation?
Not at first. It wasn't, because my wife, Jennifer, is the oldest of 4 girls total. She has 3 younger sisters. So, and her mother, they're very, her mom, I love her, very tough, more of a hippie, you know, Sacramento woman. And so, her mother, to this day, to give you an example of the house that she was raised in, this is her belief system now. We're sitting there, she's like, why do you have to have guns? We just do this. I'm like, Rebecca, this conversation is kind of pointless because they're always going to exist. That's the same why we have nuclear warfare. It is what it is. And so we can actually go ahead and learn how to do it the proper way and identify. But like, you don't think I wish there was no guns in the world? If right now there's a guy or a guy himself comes down and goes, hey, no guns, no firearms whatsoever, they don't work anymore. I'm like,
He's gonna take them all.
So now it's to be fisticuffs, right? Okay. Holy shit, my life's to be a lot easier, a lot safer, because how many that bar is a very small percent of people I got to worry about now. Whereas firearms, the great equalizer. So her mentality of this world of non-violence is so unrealistic. So my wife came from that, and so showing violence against it. Well, are you mad at the person? Like, no, babe, I'm not angry at all. I had to show her, but then she saw right off the bat the benefits of my lifestyle, my ability to control myself, conduct myself, and the benefits that happen from it. And she liked, obviously liked who I was as a man. I'm like, yeah, these are the attributes of critical thinking and self-evaluation that I'm gonna pass on to our children. And so from day one, she was on board. That I'm like, what are our goals, our ambitions? You're with somebody, you have to figure out that, like, right. Hopefully we have very like-minded ideas of what we want for our children. And I'm like, hey, look. Life's a race. Just because I put my kids at the front doesn't mean they're going to end up in the front. And you can be in the back. Doesn't mean you'll lose, but made life harder. So I'm going to push as far as I can, give my children every advantage possible. But they need adversity in their life. They need something that hurts, something that's painful, that can cause them anguish they have to overcome on a daily basis. And that'll be the martial arts. They're not like they're getting jumped for their money. They're not money anytime soon from the private schools we send them to. So this will be the tool that we train them with. And I want scholar athletes. I want my children to understand that there's no separation of mind and body. You could be fit warrior and be very smart at the same time. In fact, actually, it's a benefit for them to be very similar and one and the same, and not separate brain and brawn. So my children from day one, physically fit, mentally fit, critical thinking, are extremely strong beliefs I have that, again, she saw the benefits firsthand, and then I could show her as we were going. She bought in better than I did at times. She went and investigated the whole private school thing.
You're one of the exceptions to the rule, Frank, and early on, a lot of people look at sports, specifically fighting, as it's kind of like this tough guy, meathead thing, and it's gotten much better, I'll say. But I've got to say, you had to be one of the trailblazers in that, because you were always what you just explained, which is interesting because this is how you've raised your kids. You're a super analytical guy. If you sit down and have a conversation with you, it is not meathead stuff ever. You're breaking things down. You're a great analyst because you see what's happening before it happens. You have experience with it. A lot of times when they go to put a fighter or a player on the microphone, it's cringy as hell. It's like, oh my gosh, I love watching this dude, but when he starts to talk about things, it's unbearable. You're not that way. You're very smart. You're engaged. And it goes along with your jiu-jitsu career because that's a clinic type of thing. That's a technician type of practice. So you get involved in a lot of areas when you start to have conversations, whether it be politics or sports or be it a spiritual religion thing or anything. I want to ask you a little bit as we're going here. At one point, and I think that it's kind of changed a little bit, but you had some aspirations to kind of maybe make some plays in the political realm. I know that maybe that's kind of faded, but you're still engaged and have opinions there, and usually are engage at a pretty high level to where it's like, I don't hate anyone. I just wish we could all kind of get along, but make sense of each other. Where are you at these days on that? Because we got a lot of turmoil in the world, and I wish we could figure it out, meet in the middle somewhere.
But that's the thing too. I think that 85, 90% of us are in the middle. That we actually have the majority. It's just that I don't think we're very loud. I think that a lot of guys or girls might sit there and talk about, like, hey, a full-grown adult can marry another full-grown adult. It's their business. Yeah, oh yeah, I believe that. Does that church reserve the right that doesn't follow their faith not to have a same-sex marriage in the church? Well, yeah, they should have the right to refuse it. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, don't we all? I feel like we're more like-minded than we're not. You know, even down to hot-button topics of abortion. You just really break things down. I try to tell my friends, calm down, stop being emotional. We can all agree we don't want to kill babies, right? Like, no one's walking around saying that killing babies is a good idea. It's, you know, an innocent child, right? So really all we're arguing about is what's a baby? Let's really get down to what we were talking about. Like, you know, this guy thinks at the minute of conception that that's a life, a potentiality. I'm like, okay. And then this person here is like, well, up to 9 months, it's her body. I'm like, oh, God, okay. I don't think no one's going to tell you that, you know, up until the day before it's born. And I shouldn't say that. There are people who are going to say that, and they're the extremists. The same as somebody who's only, 24 hours pregnant, takes Plan Bs and goes, oh, you killed the life. I'm like, you really got to be kind of a fun extremist to think that in that area. The rest just kind of fall in the middle. Like, hey, this would be common sense, like for girls less than 3 months, if this situation arises, yeah, do you want that to enter the system? We can point so many things out that we all actually totally agree on, but everybody wants to yell at the extremes of the situation of being like, well, you think that it's no longer her body at the minute of conception, and this guy thinks you can have an abortion at 9 months. I'm like, holy shit, really? And I just take that on to every topic. People only want to argue about the extremes, and so that's why I try to calm people down. But hey, relax, take a deep breath. It's not personal, but hold on. So what are you saying? What are you asking? Let's really think this through. Let's not make this a knee-jerk reaction. I did to one of my wife's girlfriends recently. She was saying something about Trump. I'm like, hold on a second. You hate Trump, okay? There's things I don't like about Trump. There's things I love about the guy. Back and forth with most all political leaders. But you hate him. Tell me what policy he put into action that is ruining your life. Like, you're just like, oh my God, because of him. I can't think of one. I'm like, okay, so basically you're saying that you don't like the guy, you don't want to beer with him, and that's the reason why you're not, like that. Don't you think it should be a little deeper than that? Like, what he actually brings to the role of leadership, what his weaknesses are, what his strengths, base it upon that, and not just some emotional, I hate that he said this and made people feel bad. I'm like, it's all emotional. So that interests me to be able to inform people and try to talk us through and enjoying. I think that's one advantage that I have is that my security of who I am. And then I'm like, hold up, relax. I don't take this personal. Think this through. Let's really walk this through. That's something that martial arts has taught me. We can think certain things and sounds great. Let's put it into play and actually walk me through that. How does that work out?
Well, do you think people, because that's a really interesting topic, and again, with the way that you direct your words and your intentionality, and obviously the way that you have a relationship with who you're talking about, directing the room, right? Do you feel like you're able to actually allow them to have a real conversation? Because do you feel like you're pulling them out of something? When they say something, do you think that that's actually what they believe or what they've been involved in?
I think that it's limited their experience, that's what they have. And first and foremost, I try to detach people from, you are not your ideas that way. So like, just because I go ahead and change it, you're allowed to change your opinion on things as information comes. But some people feel like they are their identity. They are this person who feels this about the topic. And then if somehow I prove that argument to be false, that it's a mark against you. I'm like, no, it's not. It goes for the same reason that if I'm not a good person and I'm saying something about a topic, now you're attacking me, well, you're a shitty guy. I'm like, what does that have to do with what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're right, ad hominem, it's actually a logical fallacy to sit there and go, well, because who's delivering this message, the message is shit. I'm like, well, no, the message is strong. If someone says, hey, Frank, in the fight, you should have done this. I feel like this was open. I'd go, oh, actually, you're correct. And why I didn't do that was because of this. And, I was fatigued or tired. I anticipated I made the wrong decision. And I've had guys go, what experience do you have? Like, oh, hold on. Just because he has, experience, like, you can't attack his credentials. So that's why I try to help people out. Like, you are not just defined by those ideas, so that you can separate from them. Because I feel that's why people don't want to let go of their beliefs at times. Even showing contrary information, go, hey, I can show you why that's not maybe the best approach, but they don't want to follow it because, like, well, then I'm wrong and I'm not good anymore. I'm like, what does that mean?
When you said something really important. And you also said comfort can have consequences earlier, right?
Yes.
But you brought up from the beginning of it what you instill in yourself and your kids' identity. And then having these conversations, you're pulling people away from the fact they've tied their identity to all these different things that have nothing to do with who they really are.
Correct.
Right? So that's kind of a
And that's why I defend it so vehemently. It's like tooth and nail. It's like, hey guys, it's okay. I'll change my opinion on things. There's things I look at and go, I like this, or I don't like that. I mean, that's just life. I mean, I really think if you look back from 10 years ago, I mean, I'm only 46, and, I'm like an old man, but I am not the same person I was at 36. I'm not the same person close to what I was at 26, as far as my beliefs and my thoughts and my ideas of the world. And I think all of us should probably be that way. If you really look back at yourself and go, man, fuck, when I was 30, I was an idiot, I'm probably gonna say this. Hopefully, I'm doing well enough in life that at 55, I can go, fuck, at 46, oof, that was retarded. I can't believe I thought that. I can't believe I was doing that. How idiotic of me at the time.
I think, too, we get up at a lot of conversations, and when it comes from a belief system or a spiritual place, people have for generations taken other guys' ideas of how they're supposed to act or be, and it's not even really completely what maybe is in the Bible or what how Jesus conducted himself. And what you were talking about earlier, I think about on a spiritual zone, what you were saying was a lot more how Jesus would have conducted himself, because when you shut people down, there's no influence. To ever get to a place of relationship or to help them understand a different point of view, you have to have some essence of influence to do that. It never will happen in an argument. And everybody wants to prove people wrong versus...
Yeah, what's your objective for why you're talking to this person?
How do we get to a place where, what are the parts we do agree on? And so I think that the way...
Again, what are your priorities? When I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, you go, hey, Frank, are you benefiting from it or you're not? Or like, oh no, I'm just benefiting to make you better at this so that you're better, which in turn makes the tribe better. Because we're all in this together. All ships rise in the tide, right?
Yeah, I think too many people are trying to be right instead of like find a connection.
Correct.
And being right doesn't win a lot.
And what does it matter? Because guess what? Again, 100 years from now, we're going to find out we're all wrong.
Yeah, we're wrong about something.
Yeah, like the world, and it just keeps evolving and changing and improving for the most part, I feel. But too many people, again, you're right, their objective for why they're talking to you is that, well, you just want to be heard or seen. It's like you're not really helping. You're not, like, that's not your objective. Your objective is to let me know what you know. Because I always hate this. Same line of thought process of reasoning. Someone will ask me a question. They go, hey, what do you think about this? Like, oh, this. And then they chime in and start letting me know what they think about the topic. I'm like, you really didn't care what I thought. Right? You just use it as an opener so that you can let me know how knowledgeable you are upon this topic. Like, okay.
Well, we're gonna put a bow tie on it here, kind of here at the end. I want to say something. I don't know if you're going to be at this on February 20th. I think the XFN in Tulsa, Del Apollo's Cooks event promotion there in Tulsa. My favorite local fighter is going to be fighting. His name is Tater McSpadden. Tater's been on our podcast. He's actually in our journey group at home. It's kind of a big men's group where we get together and talk about being better at things. And Tracy Reeder's going to be fighting as well. I think you've gotten to see these guys fight,
I remember Tater offhand right now.
Tater's got tattoos, blonde hair, and he just goes out there just ready to go. And he's created a tailspin of attention, Frank, in Tulsa for the last year. He went from just a guy to this crazy, people just know him that don't even follow the fight game there because his personality is unbelievable. Personality matters in this game.
It does.
In the old days, not as many people grabbed onto that as quick. You had a character. Guys had, but not everyone had much of a character. Another guy I think about that had Josh Barnett.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like this.
You mean when Tim
It was
Silva-
weird. Oh
when
my
Tim Silva-
gosh, Tim
I
Sylvia.
was so happy when that was a highlight.
I was wondering, we were walking down the strip earlier, I was wondering if I was going to see Tim walking around wearing his championship belt.
Backwards.
Wear it in public.
It's funny, some guys, you know, can't let things go, you know, and he was kind of awkward with people, and I remember seeing
No way.
a little bit, you know, but it's because he actually, like, it's kind of, you know, he was the black sheep growing up, it's, you know, the relationship with his mother. You hear about his past, you're like, okay, I get why you're like that, I understand, but you don't have to be. I mean, like, that's the advantage of being a man, is that most of us, if you just do what your family taught you to do blindly, to follow anything blindly, you're just a robot, and programmed that way. They go, hey, what do you think about that? Well, I think this. That's what your dad thought, and his dad thought. Did you ever break it down for yourself? Not that you can't come to the same conclusion, but I mean, if you're going to really let this affect your life and direct where you are, you want to think about it a little bit, read about it a little bit, you know, I don't know. But that's what people become a machine, you know. And then I always tell people too that if you just go ahead and just follow your emotion, I'm horny, I'm hungry, I eat, I'm mad, so I'm fighting. It's like, all right, well, you're a dog, you know what I mean? That's a dog, you know. He follows his emotions. You're not, you know, you're not using your intellect, you know. And not that sometimes we don't delve into those moments in our life, and you know, but you try to pull yourself back out, or you know, or people just like, well, you know, I'm moody because of this, that, you know, a chemical reaction. Anytime you say that something else outside of yourself controls who you are, you're really short, you know, selling yourself. We're men. We can always choose to rise above the occasion. You know, not that I don't understand where you're coming from or where you could be, but yeah, that identity as far as who you are, you get to choose it. And you're right, a lot of the personalities now are so phenomenal that the X factor is uncontrollable, really, that people are able to become superstars off of. What I've always done, I'm not an actor, so I, you know, if I go out there and play a part, I think it'd be cringy. I think you guys would see it pretty quickly, you know, about the fights. I followed advice from a guy named Joe Silva. He goes, just find a part of your personality that attracts people, whether it's good or bad. You know, you can gain traction, but so it's better to accentuate who you are than to create. And there is a part of myself that can be very cocky and arrogant, you know. I think maybe better of myself at times than I probably should in certain situations. And so I really embrace that sometimes, where I became, you know, and use that to help make it to where I turn the people to my way. Because what my daughter's finding right now, my daughter was exactly how I was at that age. I don't care about making appearances and doing autograph signing. I don't care about the shit. Just put me out there, I want to fight and prove I'm the best. I'm like, I hear you, baby. It would be great if that's all martial arts is about, these two warriors combating each other to find out who's better, break down themselves and improve. But there's money involved, and it's an entertainment aspect of the sport. And it's a huge factor. In fact, it might be above the ability to fight, is whether people want to watch you fight. And so she's learning now how to embrace it, adjust it, and I told her, like, hey, just, you know, do like what I do. I never fought for money. At the end of the day, I would have fought for free. But I realized that money allowed me to go ahead and go to the gym every day, because anytime my wife was like, you're going again, you're doing this, I'm like, that purse is nice. You like that purse? Maybe we'll get you another one. I'll be back in a couple hours. You know, let me go to work and train. And so my family benefited me financially, was able to make me direct and become better at the entertainment aspect.
Well, you were a fan favorite, Frank, and I think that's probably why. You had the ability to do your craft at a super high level and do, like you said, it was kind of more of a belief, a spirit. You guys were in there. If it's just you and him and no one else in the arena, you'd be there on time to do that. But you understood that people watching was a big deal, and you're always so gracious to talk to the fans and, you know, sign some autographs here and there, and you do the pictures. Still to this day, I watch you when you're there local, you'll stop and take pictures. So many people don't understand that part of the game, because no one's gonna watch you, don't get paid. But I think also, more than just getting paid, you gotta have a part of you, and we see and hear this today talking to you, you're just a good guy. So you understand being a good guy also means relationship, and you happen to be a guy that people want to talk to.
Well, I'm a representative of my lifestyle, right? Martial arts. I love it so much, but I walk out there and I'm an asshole to people. Who's like, well, who's that guy? Look who's representing that way of life. That martial arts is a dick. You know, so I could actually ruin it for other people. It doesn't take much time to be good to people. It takes so much less effort to be nice, to be genuine. I always tell people, like, I'm too lazy to be mean, to be an asshole. You imagine you sit there and some guy wants to take a picture with you, like, and how long does it take me to go, no, I don't do pictures this. We're gonna have an argument, you know, just scuffle, hey, come on, man. That whole thing's gonna go on probably for 90 seconds to 2 minutes where instead of like, oh yeah, come here, man. We take a picture, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and it's over with. We get through that. I showed a good representation of who I am as a martial artist. It was the path of least resistance. It's easier to be nice.
But I mean, it's like Martin Luther King said, I have decided to stick to love because hate's too great of a burden to bear.
It's what it is.
And it's like, man, I've chosen to be kind, I've chosen to be nice because the hate is too heavy on me to even bear this weight.
I agree. Yeah, it darkens your soul, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes people have that animosity, evil, and hatred in life. It's like, even if it's aimed at somebody else. I used to do it the other day, my wife and their friends were sitting there, and they were discussing a person who had, their behavior was appalling. And I eventually, finally said, hey guys, why are we wasting more of our life right now talking about them? Is there anything we could do to benefit ourselves to go ahead and protect? We've learned enough information now that we know who they are, we've identified them. You gotta protect yourself now. How to protect yourself. They expose themselves to you. Us sitting here discussing this topic any further, what's the benefit? What are we doing? Now what are we gaining? We're losing out. This person's now affecting our life in a way that we're sitting here, we're angry, upset. They're winning in a way, really.
Right.
Think about it, like it's like, now you got one on me because I just spent the last 2 hours talking about you.
They're not even there.
We're holding the hot coal.
Right.
Yes.
And they're not getting burned. But
Yes.
Our hands
Yes.
just
They're living. One of the things that the person one time who said it to me was right. They're like, I'm living in your head. God damn it, you're right. You are. I'm thinking about you. You're like, yeah, you got me. You're right. I am spending a lot of time consumed upon you.
I want to end this with some of the materials and products. You've always been kind of a guy who, like you've said it for the last 45 minutes or so, you're going to read, you're going to research, you're going to study a little bit and educate yourself around. You're into some products right now, and I didn't get a chance to see. I see them over there. I don't know if it's a peptide or a vitamin.
Yeah. Well,
what are we doing here?
one of the main ones I love right now is as people get older, you realize in life itself, I think most people, nutrition-wise, it's not rocket science. I don't think most people sit there and go, hey, make sure you get lots of protein, fats, maybe limit French fries and carbs like that, right, are bad for you. You don't think you're gonna get ripped eating French fries every day, right? So I think most of us understand that aspect of it. So it's a super easy sell to tell you, like, protein, I don't have a really complex diet. Some guys, they really, it's worth them their time to really get it down the macronutrients to a certain detail that I've never, not my concern. I want to make sure I'm healthy and strong. It's been my objective, where my identity roles is my performance. So as I've gotten older, having protein, I realized I actually need more protein than my children need, because as I get older, I'm less efficient at absorbing it. So having a source like this product here we have with the clean, the 24 grams of protein, and it's such a small amount of whey protein absorbs instantly, it makes it convenient. Because anything in life, if it's difficult for you to do, well, that's how I actually fix my bad behaviors. Like right now, my wife and I were talking about turning screen time, So I hook my iPad on the side of the room. So if I'm gonna get up in the middle of the night and watch the iPad, I have to get up out of bed, walk across the room. I have it in a safe tray, I turn the light on, lock. It is inconvenient.
Right.
So the flip side of that is to make things like protein, we know how important it is. Again, I don't think anybody doesn't think protein is important to have now in our modern world. And so having it done in a very clean, efficient, easy to carry way.
How does it go in? Is it a powder? Is it a...
No, it's a one shot with the liquid, with the clean. I just take it down in one shot. I guess you could sip it, but the fact that it's small and compact.
Okay, so you take that is, it's liquid.
I mean, you could probably get that through TSA security.
Yeah, no,
on the way home.
I forgot to
That's
look at it. Yep, 3.4 ounces actually. It's TSA approved.
Well, thanks for bringing that with us. Actually, that's interesting. The protein thing, that's all we ever hear about with people, and how they're going to do it and cut it, where they're going to get
It's
it.
a big deal. Well, they're flipping the food pyramid.
Right there.
It's been a line right now.
Yes.
And the protein intake's been like 20% of what it really should be. What I like, when we talked about health for like the last hour before we started recording, Frank, was that in tying it in, you talked
You were
about...
going where my blood results were showing.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about you still being yourself, but this last season and the toll it's taken, you were honest, and we all appreciate incredibly vulnerable and authentic of the surgery you went through and the mindset. But this is this is what you love, health and fighting, and you're reinventing yourself. And so we talked for the last 2 episodes on base camp, And you talked about the screen time. There's so many people that are a victim of their habits right now and a poor mindset because of what they've watched, what they're consuming, and they're on one or two sides of what somebody else has fed them. And so it's just encouraging. Like, no matter where you're at, if you look at it as base camp, look at your gifts and talents, you can go anywhere, no matter what you've been through. And really, listen to your story. Nobody has an excuse. You walked in here, or you might not have, right? And you still would have been doing what you're doing with your life and reinventing it.
And yeah, base camp for us is like in the valley between the victories of the mountains.
Yeah, quit saying valley. It's just your base camp.
You're at the base
I call it
camp for your
furnace.
next.
My dojo is a furnace, your guys' base
Yeah.
camp. If you think about it, look at the sword. If I give a sword sentience, I have a samurai sword, and I'm able to give it thought. And I go, hey, what was the roughest part of your existence? You know, oh shit, the forge. When he was an iron ore and he got hammered and crushed, that was probably the most painful, abusive aspect of his life. But that's what made it the sword. If it wasn't for that furnace, that pounding, that hammer, the heat, the pressure, the
trial,
that struggle is what made that beautiful sword. Without struggle, you can't have a beautiful soul. Like, you need it. From Yamamoto to, you look at how Jesus, there's so many aspects of life. There has to be suffering. And through that suffering, you actually sharpen yourself, strengthen yourself, and continue to need bits of suffering throughout your life. If it's all good, you have nothing to compare it to, it makes you soft. You have to, every now and then, that's what's good thing about, again, the martial arts. I can push myself in a adverse situation where I'm in pain, I'm hurting, I'm second thoughts, and then the bell rings, and then we get to go eat lunch. You know, hey man, had that leftover, incredible. When do you see the opening on that? And then we can talk about it, you know.
Man, Frank, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, for sure.
I always enjoy. I was just telling Kellen as we were getting ready to come on the trip, I was like, man, I just like talking to Frank. You know, you have people you get to meet in your life, which obviously an honor and it's cool. And, you know, it's always fun to meet a guy like you, but you're cool about that. You know that you've been living this for years, where people kind of look at you as like, you're a figure. I mean, when you walk places, people look at you. You know, we were walking through the deal earlier, nobody's really looking at us, right? But when you walk or we walk through wherever we're going, I notice people are always kind of, well, that's Frank Mir. They know who you are, and I think that it's cool how you carry yourself and how you handle yourself. It's really something to look up to, and a lot of people should really study that because they don't operate very well inside of it. And I think it's a humility deficiency for some people. You definitely don't have a humility deficiency. I know you might have other things you're working on, and you're pretty honest about those. So everybody, thank you for watching Get Canceled again today. Again, I want to say, you know, iTunes, Spotify, and if you hate listening to things, iHeartRadio, I can't stand it. Tiffany loves it.
If you get bored and you're not into fighting, comment on Bryan's jeans. Short again.
Check out YouTube and see us there too. We really appreciate you guys. I'm going to close today. Frank, we always kind of close our podcast in a little prayer. The reason why we do that is we think we're very imperfect people. And ultimately, the only thing we can ever do to kind of pursue some peace in our life, and also some of the correction you've talked about, is to we always like to say a prayer and just kind of center up on our thing. We know we make mistakes constantly, and so we try to let people know, hey, this is kind of a spiritual podcast, but we're not the traditional guys. We like to smoke cigars and have a little fun, but always our goal is to bring someone and let them know, hey, everyone's welcome though. Everyone's welcome and to engage with us. So I'll pray, and we really appreciate you guys. We'll say, Lord, thank you for bringing us here today. Thank you for the safety that you've allowed us to have. We pray back home with everyone going through the snow, that everyone's safe there, that we don't lose life. And for all of our kids represented here, Frank's kids, Kellen, myself, and Thad's children, that you have a hedge of protection over them, and that you are always kind of speaking into their hearts about what their value is and where they can go. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to hang out with a guy like Frank and spend some time with him, and to kind of learn from him as well and exchange ideas. And we pray tonight for our safety and for the enjoyment. We pray right now too, as we end, for Frank's body. He's been through the gamut. He's put himself through a lot in his life to pursue his trade, to provide for his family, and to just really try to be a winner, try to be someone who's living up to the mindset that you planted inside of him as a man. And we pray, Father God, now that you touch that spine, you touch the injury, you touch past injuries, Lord, in a supernatural way, that in Jesus' name his body becomes whole, and that he's able to perform and provide and walk through life at the level that he wants to. In Jesus' name, amen. And we'll tell everyone, don't forget,
Get canceled.
Get canceled.
Thank you.
Yeah. Easy's hitting the ender. There we go. We are on. All right. Thanks, Frank.
We're at.
Appreciate that. We are.